Hi, welcome to the Committed Quilter. I'm going to show you my quilting space. This is actually a bookcase outside my quilt room where I've got a number of quilt things. My magazines are piling up at the bottom and along with books. So I actually start my quilting space at the end. It's at the end of the hall here in my bedroom. My room is not clean, and it's kind of dark because it has this nice dark ceiling on it. So I have a number of lights in here. So I don't know, as you first come in, I've got a little magazine rack, a couple of boxes that I've used to put all the magazines in. I don't take near as many magazines now as I used to. A few of the ribbons that I've earned from the local quilt shows. That's actually a covering to my window. I don't want my fabric to fade, so I've actually put a pretty heavy covering over the window. So I just made a quilted shade to go over the top of it. So my quilt space is right in the middle of the room. So my machine sits in the middle of the room on a table. It's actually a computer table, has a little drop thing in it, so it's not an actual sewing piece of furniture. Underneath the table I have bins and a chair. These bins go with me to quilt retreats. I usually just end up emptying them out just in time to fill them up again. Along this wall, my ironing board, and I have some quilts up on the wall. Some of the quilts I've made, I used to make a lot more smaller quilts, and now I'm making larger quilts, and so a lot of them end up on the wall. I also have many stashes of fabric kind of everywhere. I'm outgrowing my space, so I'm have things everywhere. I have a chest of drawers that has interfacing and buttons and all kinds of other things in it. I have a whole stash of pile over here of things that are completed quilts. I do have my TV in my office, which makes it in my sewing room, which makes it very nice to watch while I'm quilting. Let's see, I do have a closet in this room. Inside there is a lot of batting and pillow forms and half-completed projects and other things I don't get to very often, as you can tell, because of the pile in front of it. As I turn around kind of back toward the door, I guess I'll stand back here and give you, this is actually my pinning board. I just recently made this. This is a foam board that I got from the Home Depot, and it's awesome. It works really well to pin on. So I'm going to move that over here, and then behind that sits my bookcase. This is my primary stash of fabric. I have things sorted by color, as you can see. I fold things in a certain way because that way I can see most of the fabric, and when I start pulling colors and things, it's right next to my sewing table, so I usually kind of clean this off as I start a new project. And then I can have just piles of fabric everywhere, and then I have to turn around and put it all back in when I've decided what I need. Along this wall over here, this is another whole stash of fabric that I have. I have the little cubicles. So the click together cubicles, I don't know how many sets I bought. I've got, 5 by 6 right now is the way it's set up. I have a couple of them. I have some quilts hanging on top of some of the fabric stash. A couple of the fabric bins are empty because I have a heater behind there, and I don't want the fabric going into the heater. But a lot of my flannel stash is over here because it's a lot lighter than the cottons. I have fleece way up on top. Just a few bolts of fabric. I don't very often buy whole bolts. So that's really my sewing room. Whoops, I guess I have a little table of stuff back here. There's another light. And I actually have a press machine that I don't think I'm going to keep, but it was given to me. I have some more cubicles down under here full of all kinds of different half-done projects, some knitting projects, crocheting. So you never really know. I've got a whole pile of things to be quilted in this pile. More storage of things. Generally this is fabric down here and then yarn. So I'm not using it very often. My actual sewing machine and sewing space is right here, so you can see the drop down, little bit of the drop down for like the computer keyboard, but I use it for the sewing machine, and it's worked out very well for me. And a little project I'm working on right now for a class I'm taking. It's a little whimsical. My daughter designed it. I needed to show something that had depth, so the hills go back into the background with less definition. The giraffe is on top of the tree, so it's just showing some basic definition, and it was fun to use her artwork to put the piece together. I was going to talk about my lights. I have my aunt light that I have on here on my actual sewing machine. I have this new little bright light that they have. The sewing machine has a light. The room itself has a light. I have this lamp that I've had back here for a long time, but it adds a little bit more. And back over here by my ironing board, I have another lamp. So I do as much as I can to get a good light in here, especially with the curtain being over the window where I don't, can't see anything through the curtain at all. Little ruler stash. So with this little chair rail, I use a lot of little knick-knacky things can sit on there, or collect a lot of junk or whatever else. But that's kind of interesting. That's my sewing room. I hope you can tell from the video, what I've got. It's nothing fancy, and it's certainly not perfectly clean, but it really does work for me. Have fun.